It all continues with the fact that the zombies poured gunpowder on the zombie king, and Wang lit the paper and was preparing to set it all on fire. Zhu understood that he wanted to burn the corpses of other people for the reason that they would not be eaten by zombies later. He threw a flint on the corpse and it caught fire, but Zhu did not understand why he was also getting rid of the corpse of the zombie king. Wang explained that there are 2 reasons. First, if other zombies eat his flesh, they can become stronger. Second, now he could see his memories and feel his despair. The zombie king used to be a human too. He was once the boxing champion of this city. He won a lot of gold belts. He also had a wonderful happy family. But all this was destroyed when the post-apocalypse came. He ran into the house saying that he had taken enough supplies that would last them for several weeks. But when I came in, I was just desperate. After all, there were zombies there. They had already killed his wife and were eating her hands. He immediately threw at them to destroy them. The zombie king was burning, and Zhu began to cry, because this story made him remember his parents. If not for his sister, maybe he would have already become a zombie too. Li shouted for them to pay attention to him. He realized his mistake, so he asked them to leave together from here. He asked them to take him with them. He will tell Jin to reward them well. To which Wang replied that he and Qin had sent them here and had not thought of taking them back at all. Even if they did, it would only be to cook food from their flesh. Lai predicted Zhu, because they had just fought together against the zombie king. He claimed that he realized his mistake, but Zhu was indifferent. The zombies noticed him and started growling. Li shouted at the zombies not to approach him and assured them that he was not tasty. Li was very scared, but the zombies rushed right at him. Wang got into the car and told Zhu to sit next to him because they were returning to the city. Zhu didn't understand what they would do after they arrived in the city. Wang replied that they would act according to the plan. He wanted to see how things were going with Xiao and Officer Mayo. He wanted to destroy this Jin. At this moment, the girls were standing near Mr. Jin's door. The guard let them in and told them to come in and take good care of Jing. Mayo understood that there was a terrible place there and could not guess what kind of brothel was inside. There was a gorgeous place where there were girls and even a swimming pool. The dwarf ran after the girl with the words that he would make her feel good when he caught up with her. Everyone was enjoying their time and just relaxing. There was great food on the table and a lot of booze. Mayo understood that he lived in luxury while others lacked all these benefits. This fat man really uses dishonest methods. Then Jin grabbed one girl and told her to go with him. The girl replied that new girls had come so he could play with them. He was very interested in them and therefore wanted to check the goods. That his mouth was already watering. One girl said she was very plastic and capable. Another could tie a knot with her tongue and offered to look. The third asked Jin not to listen to them because she is much more capable. Mayo saw the immoral behavior and therefore covered her eyes. The girls touched Jin all over and wanted to serve him. Jin asked them not to hurry because he needs the one who has everything real. He'll know which one of them is a first-class thing when they jump up. He added that each of them should jump as high as they can. The one who jumps the highest can stay with him here for a month and live in prosperity. All the girls started jumping and assured that each jumped the highest. Mayo was very angry at Jin. She wanted to overthrow him rather than beat him up. At the same time, in the camp, Xiao got out and looked around. She saw a guard with a weapon in front of her. She asked Jin's secretary if he wanted to die, because she told him to take her to the weapons depot, but there are so many guards here. She asked if he wanted to ruin her. He asked not to hit him. In fact, there is a back door here. He will take her there. Xiao wasn't happy that he hadn't told her earlier. She ordered him to get her through quickly, otherwise she would immediately kill him. They immediately went quietly, and after she cut the box with a knife, Xiao realized that there were weapons and ammunition in these boxes, to which the advisor replied that it was far from a weapon because they have even cooler ones. Xiao was interested and asked to show them faster. The advisor could certainly show, but it's still a big secret. She won't be able to watch them just like that. He offered her a deal. After she looked, she would kiss him. Xiao started yelling at him and assured him that she would only kiss Wang Bing. She understood that he had gone crazy and started dreaming about the impossible, to which the advisor replied that he would be glad to die at the hands of a beautiful girl. But if she did not agree, she would not know where this back entrance was. Xiao had to agree and said that if he really found and showed her an awesome weapon, then so be it, she would kiss him. At that moment, Zhu and Wang were driving up to the city gate. Zhu shouted that they were back and asked to open the doors faster. They were asked why there were only 2 of them and where the other members of the expansion group were. Wang explained that they had met the zombie king in the northern district. Captain Li and his men died trying to protect them while they were carrying the gold. The guards understood that Li could not protect them, so until Wang told them the truth, they would not come in. Immediately, Wang lifted the veil and there was gold lying there. Wang replied that if they didn't believe, they could look at these gold bars. He and Zhu brought it, but there are even more ingots in the northern region. Wang asked if Jin needed these ingots. The voice on the loudspeakers was glad that they were able to find the gold and ordered the others to let them in. Zhu asked Wang Bing to be careful. Wang assured him that there was no need to worry, because they would act according to the plan. At that moment, the dwarf took his Rolexes and asked the girls if they could see this watch. He threw them into the pool and said that whoever gets him first will live with him here for a month in prosperity. All the girls rushed to get the watch, saying that it belonged to them. Mayo understood that this fat man was very cunning. Immediately, the girl put her hand on Mayo and she asked what she needed. She introduced herself as her. This is Mr. Jin's mistress. She can call her sister Y. Mayo decided to find out if she had any orders for Mayo. Y replied that there was no order. In fact, as soon as she walked in, Y realized that Mayo was different from other cheap women. Mayo suggested that Y was beginning to doubt her motives for coming here. Y considered her much more reliable than others. They only want to get close to Jin for the sake of short-term benefits. She needs someone to hold Jin together with her. If they hold on to Jin, they won't have to be afraid in this post-apocalyptic world. She will be guaranteed a life of abundance. Y asked Mayo how she was and if she would become her ally. Mayo was very embarrassed and asked not to come so close. Of course, Mayo needs support. If Y agrees, then she is ready to obey her. Mayo realized that she wanted to win her over to her side. It scared her a lot, but why did she feel so uncomfortable when she got close to her? Y offered her a drink, because in the future they could become the best friends. Immediately, Y noticed that she still did not know her name and Mayo introduced herself with a wrong name. She understood that since she was Jin's mistress, it meant that a lot of information could be learned through her. She wanted to find some way so that she could find out where Jin's gold was stored. At that moment, there was already security around the car and a fat girl came out and said that they had come so badly, because Jin is having fun now. Wang replied that they risked their lives, brought the gold here. The protagonist was sure that Jin would be glad to hear this news. The girl agreed and gave a special sign. The guards pointed their weapons at them and Zhu asked what they were doing. Wang asked if she really wanted to take away their achievements. He assured her that they didn't need any rewards from Jin, to which the girl told him not to pretend. In fact, Jin knows their real identities. As soon as they arrived in this city, Jin recognized him and that girl. During his speech, he drew attention to the left. He saw and remembered the beautiful policewoman who had arrested him before. He didn't expect her to come to him by herself. He was wondering what would happen now. Wang did not think that this little man had a good memory. He realized that Jin still remembered Mayo. It was said that a gang of wild sharks suffered serious losses due to one policeman named Mayo and several people. She asked Wang if it was them. She thought they were very brave if they dared to come straight to Jin. Van wanted to explain everything to begin with, but the guard raised his weapon and swung his butt at the back of his head. Zhu shouted, "How is he?" And the guard ordered him to stand still. The girl started laughing, because according to Jin's plan, she grabbed them. She believed that she was indeed Jin's most capable woman. Guys, so that the videos come out more often, show your activity by subscribing to the channel and your royal like. Do it now. The more subscriptions, the more videos will be released and they will be much longer. Let's hit our first 10,000 subscribers. When Van was lying on the ground, he woke up. Two big guys were dragging him in the building. Van was conscious all the time. He didn't know how Zio and Mayo were doing there. Officer Mayo doesn't know yet that Jin recognized her. Now everything has become more complicated. He thought it was Jin's location, but he wondered why there wasn't a single guard here. And this place is in bad condition. They threw him on the floor. The guard asked nothing that they left him here, because Wang could have done something. To which the other guard replied that Sister Y was here, so everything was safe and you could leave. Wang was surprised that they dared to throw him on the floor and therefore wanted to take revenge. Immediately, the door opened and two people in cloaks and hoods came out. They picked him up and dragged him to a chair. A second later, they sat him down and tied his arms and legs to a chair. He was surprised that he was tied up and did not know what they were going to do. The lights came on and Jin appeared, who said that the game was starting. Previously, when he was in business, he had to deal with some little thief who, not appreciating a good attitude, tried to resist Jin. The dwarf suggested that when they saw him, they thought he was some kind of stupid pig. But Jin found out their plans. He added that the young ones were still far away from him. He shouted at him to stop pretending to be asleep. He hit him hard with the whip and Wang woke up. The protagonist was glad that he had a viral shield. Otherwise there would be no living place left of him, but it hurts insanely. Van asked him, since he found out their intentions, why didn't he kill them right away? Wang suggested that he wanted to offer them cooperation. Jin started laughing at his words. Because why would he cooperate with the meat on the chopping board? Van did not understand why he tied him up and agreed to return all his gold to him. Jin replied that it had been a long time since he had played with such excitement, and now someone dared to challenge him. Jin has a good game with him. He ordered the lights to be turned on and the floodlights turned on, which shone on Wang and Jin with people. Wang was surprised when he saw Officer Mayo bound and unconscious. Wang was angry and shouted what he was going to do. Jin asked him not to worry, because he just wants to have a little talk with Officer Mayo. and immediately the girls took off their hoods. Behind them were very beautiful girls in vulgar costumes. Wang didn't want them to touch Officer Myo. He asked if he could consider himself a man if he offended a woman. If Jin wants to do something, he can do it with him. Jin talked to the girls and asked them to show their love to Officer Myo, but not too amused. The girls assured that they would take good care of her. Jin shouted with drool that he wanted Wang to watch them play with his beloved woman. Van realized that this fat man is also a pervert and he wants to do something perverted with her. At this time, Zhu was being led somewhere. They warned him not to do any tricks and that he should go faster. Zhu understood that things were bad because Wang Bing's plan had failed. Given Jin's character, he wouldn't let them die so easily. He will definitely make fun of them first. Now we need to act according to the circumstances. What can we say about Wang Bing? Zhu's own life is under threat. He believed they thought he was the one who killed the zombie king, so they put 4 people to him. They were all sweating profusely and looked scared. Zhu didn't know what kind of punishment they had come up with for him. He assumed that he had to submit to fate, but he can't help but worry about his sister. He didn't know what to do. Immediately the wall was broken and the tank began to leave. Everyone was shocked that someone decided to release the big guy. The advisor was tied to the muzzle and shouted for someone to save him. He shouted that they were just standing around and had to save him. Immediately, everyone started running away and shouting that they had to run because they would be killed. The advisor believed that they were geeks once saved him. He promised to make sure that Jin sentenced all of them to death. Someone asked why Zhu was here and he recognized the voice. It was Xiao. She climbed out of the hatch and asked where Wang Bing was, because they had been together before. Zhu said that they had fallen into a trap. Wang Bing was taken away by Kizan and they should hurry up and save him. Xiao was very unhappy with this. At that moment, Wai wanted to inject her with a syringe with some medicine. She promised it was a good thing. Van asked to be untied faster. If they want to do something, they should do it to Van. He asked them not to touch Milo. Wang was angry because he had used up his inner strength when he fought the zombie king. Right now, even if he tries, he still won't be able to squeeze out even a drop of inner strength. Van was immediately gagged. Jin was not happy that he likes to make noise, and it would be better for him to worry not about others, but about himself. Jin admitted that before the post-apocalypse, even if he had a lot of money, he still could not play enough. He only dabbled a little and that's all. But after the onset of the post-apocalypse, he could play with them, the brutes, as he pleased. He just loved the post-apocalypse. Wang realized that this fat man was indeed a mistake of nature. He plays with people's lives as he pleases. Jin admitted that Wang was his 18th male toy. He's going to take good care of him today. Immediately, he bit him on the ear and it became very painful for Van. He wanted to tear him to pieces. Wai injected something to Myo. Another girl said that the effect of this medicine is very fast. She wanted to look at this muzzle. Wai admitted that it is an aphrodisiac that can cure even the lack of libido. Others have not yet come up with anything better than this remedy. The girl wanted to try first. The girl kissed Myo when the officer asked them to stop. Immediately, she grabbed the Myo melons and squeezed them hard. They started groping and kissing her, and Officer Myo begged them to stop. Immediately, Wai moved on to her dumpling. Myo started crying and begged Wang Bing to save her. Wang was watching all this, and Jin tried to bite off his ear, but it didn't work out. Jin was angry that he couldn't do it and thought it was made of rubber. Wang asked the system, even though he can't use inner strength, but that doesn't mean he can't use zombie abilities with anger. He was surprised that when he wants to use body strengthening, there is no reaction. He noticed that he definitely had 400 anger points, and now it's only 80. The system explained that as Wang calms down, his anger indicators will decrease to 0. But now they were attacked, so the virus shield worked and, accordingly, anger points were deducted for this. Wang believed that the system had deceived him again. He did not know that these abilities work in this way. The system asked him not to be discouraged ahead of time. This has its advantages. With each of his blows, his skills will increase. Immediately he hit him on the shoulder with a whip. Although due to the strengthening of the body, he will not receive any injuries, but this does not mean that he does not feel this pain. Jin was glad that there was a person who could withstand so many lashes and not faint. It was a lot of fun for him. Immediately, he swung and hit Wang in the face with a whip. At this time, Myo was hanging and was very excited. Wai realized that the medicine had already taken effect. That's why I wanted to play with her. She took a knife and cut her costume from behind. Wang didn't understand what they were going to do to Officer Myo. The back of the suit was completely cut off and her back was visible. Wai shouted that the real game was starting and hit her with a whip, from which Myo was terribly hurt, and there was a huge mark on her back from the blow. The other swung a baton, saying that she should get ready properly. She hit her and Myo screamed. Because of this, Wang began to get very angry, and purple veins went through his body. Anger was at 90 points and his hands started twitching. Jin rushed at him with his fists. He started punching him in the face. The system activated the virus shield, which caused anger to drop by 20 points. Jin was breathing heavily because he was already tired. He was angry that Wang was able to hold out until this moment. He started beating him up even more. Anger constantly faded away, and the virus shield increased in level. Wang understood that if this continued, even if he didn't die, it would still hurt like hell. He didn't know what to do. At this time, the tank fired a shell and everyone scattered. Zio put the barrel to the bandit and ordered him to shoot well. Immediately, everyone began to run away because they could not do anything against the tank. Ju stood on top and shot the others with a gun. The advisor shouted to the bandits to save him as soon as possible and not to run away without him. Ju was immediately noticed by ordinary people. They asked him where he got the weapon from and assumed that he had invaded Mr. Jin's arsenal. They thought that he wanted to start a riot. Ju confirmed that Jin and the others don't take them for people, so they have to fight them back. He wanted to fight them all together. Only by rallying together could they overthrow Jin. Immediately, the bandits aimed at the tank with a bazooka. Another bandit asked them to wait, because Accountant Zhang is still on the tank gun. Then the bald man noticed that he had no brains at all. If they deal with these rioters and Zhang dies, then it means that they will be promoted immediately. The bandit agreed with him and told them to shoot. Another bandit took aim and wanted to show them his real strength. He pulled the trigger, and immediately other people jumped up and hit Buncha on the head and the rocket flew forward. Because of the guy's blow, the rocket flew past the tank. Ju turned around and saw that people started beating the bandits and shouting at them that they did not consider them to be people. Ju was glad that they had all rallied, because now they would be able to overthrow Jin. In fact, the guys doubted that they would be able to overthrow Jin, because they don't have the strength to do it. The other guy told them to get out of here faster, otherwise if Jin found out, he would immediately kill him. Even if they wanted to help him resist Jin, they still wouldn't be able to do it. Right now, they just didn't want you to die like that, so they helped. Here you just need to work hard, and only then will they get food. Such a life is better than wandering outside in search of food. The guys agreed with him, because they considered themselves very weak. Ju asked them if they knew what kind of meat they were eating. Besides, they oppress other people all the time. The guys understood that people like them are always under such pressure. It would be better to die a natural death than this way. But even if there are no Jin, there would still be other people who would want to enslave them. Ju understood that what they said was true. Even if there was no Jin, there would still be many other people similar to Jin. He was lucky to meet Wang Bing, but there is no guarantee that they will be lucky to meet a person who will help them. Ju agreed with them and did not want to force them to confront Jin with him. He only wished them all good luck. Zio immediately got out and asked if they could go, because they needed to hurry and save Wang Bing. Ju agreed with her. Zio promised that if that Jin dared to harm Wang Bing in any way, he would certainly tear off his head. At this time, Mayo was very excited. Her back was covered in wounds. Wai noticed that the medicine had taken effect. Now, no matter what they do, everything will bring her pleasure. Another girl noticed that she was really a rare commodity. They wanted to continue having fun. She took out a strange device. Wai thought she was like a little chick who didn't know about this case. Today she promised to make a real woman out of her. They started stroking her back, and Mayo woke up and begged them again to stop. He desperately begged Wang Bing to save her, because she couldn't take it anymore. Van Biel sat in silence on a chair and said nothing. Jin noticed that he beat him for half an hour. Even his clothes turned into rags, but there is not a single scratch on his body, not even a drop of blood. His hands are already hurting from hitting Wang. A normal person would have changed beyond recognition for a long time because of beatings. There is no such person who could withstand the blows of Jin with a whip. He refused to believe it and rushed straight at him. Jin hit Wang in the forehead with brass knuckles, and the system showed that the level of protection was increased, and the pain from attacks was reduced by several times. The amount of anger used when receiving attacks has been changed to 15. The next level increase requires receiving another 200 attacks. Anger was 95 points, and Wang shouted whether he had finished beating or not. Jin was surprised that Wang was still conscious and shouting at him. Wang said he barely hit him more than 100 times. He's not his punching bag. He promised that he would show him what a live punching bag means. They were also perverts who dared to treat his Mayo like that. The girls were surprised and noticed that this guy is very brave. Wang began to get very angry, because Mayo is someone he greatly admires. He wanted to give it all back to them 100-fold. Mayo had heard Wang say that he admired her. Immediately, Van's body began to change. Muscles appeared on his body, and his t-shirt literally tore on him. Jin was surprised and asked what he wanted to do. Wai asked Jin not to worry. After all, she had not yet seen people who could break out of these straps, to which Wang noticed that he was no longer human. His eyes began to glow red, and his anger almost reached 100 points. After a moment, he was furious and the anger was 100 points. There was a strengthening of the body, and he literally broke the chair and broke out from under the chair. Jin didn't understand what kind of person he was. He wanted them to calm him down faster. The girls were not happy with him and wanted to protect Jin rather. Mio noticed that Wang Bing had come to save her, and his body was completely different. Van was very pumped up, and his eyes were still red. Mio didn't understand what was wrong with her heart, because it was beating very fast, and there were strange sensations from below, too. She couldn't take it anymore. The dwarf shouted for them to kill him faster. Van rushed at him with the words that he was going to tear him to pieces. But then he noticed how Y and her friend were flying at him. He wanted to activate the virus shield so as not to feel pain, but the system informed him that he did not have enough anger to activate. At the same time, the girls continued to attack him and the anger indicators reached the norm and the virus shield was activated. The girl noticed that her needle had deformed against Wang's skin. Jin told the girls to grab him, and he would go and call more others, and they agreed. Immediately, the girls took out knives and said that currently no man could cope with their murderous duet. Wang replied to them that they had injured and tortured Mio, so they were not human and promised to kill them. The girls rushed at him with the words that they wanted to see his abilities. After all, they had previously worked as special agents of Country E. The girl tried to stab him, but Wang easily dodged. He grabbed her arm and slapped her hard across the face. Y ran up to him with the words that she would leave him without offspring. She wanted to cut off the most valuable thing in the man's body, but Wang just hit her on the head with his knee. The girl immediately passed out. A moment later they were both on the floor. Wang picked up their toy and the girl was angry, and at the same time badly beaten. She wanted to kill Wang, but the protagonist easily knocked the knife out of her hand and kicked her in the head. Since they like to torture people, then Wang wanted to show them the real torment. Guys, so that the videos come out more often, show your activity by subscribing to the channel and your royal like. Do it now. The more subscriptions, the more videos will be released and they will be much longer. Let's hit our first 10,000 subscribers. Wang grabbed her leg and said that since they loved to play so much, then he would play with them enough. The girl asked him to put her down, because she doesn't want any more. Van grabbed the toy and stuck it in one place, from which she began to scream. Y was just horrified by what she saw, and Wang was just furious. He turned to Mei and looking at her said that her turn would come soon. The protagonist's anger was rising and was already at 275 points. At this time, the guards opened fire on the tank, while the advisor prayed that he would not be hit. He shouted at them to aim at whom they were shooting, otherwise it would cost them dearly when he returned. Zio and Zhu were sitting behind a tank in a shelter. The Zio understood that they were under fire pressure. Zhu asked Zio to leave them to him. He would cover for her, and she went up to Jin's apartment by this staircase. Zio asked him if he was sure he could handle them alone, to which Zhu replied that he could not guarantee it. But now they urgently need to save Wang Bing because they have no other choice. Zio realized that Wang Bing really understands people. She thought he was a very reliable companion. He is very grateful to Wang Bing and therefore he will help them until the very end. He asked her to hurry and he will cover for her. The advisor shouted what they were standing there for and asked them to save him faster. The guards did not understand why it became so quiet and thought they were scared or they had already fled to that building. Zhu immediately got out with weapons and climbed right onto the tank. Immediately he started shooting at them and everyone started running away. Zhu told them to listen to him carefully, because there was no way he was going to back down. If they want to get through, they can only do it over his dead body. At this time, Zio ran straight up the stairs. Then she looked out from behind the wall and was noticed by other guards and immediately opened fire on her. Zio sat down behind the wall and realized that there were incredibly many guards here. She did not know how to get through them. She also didn't know how Wang Bing and Officer Mio were doing. At this time, Wang finished with the girls. Y lost consciousness and was even excited. Another girl came to her senses with the words that he dared to do this to her. Wang told them that they felt what it was like. He wanted to see if they would dare to harm other people again after that. Wang Bing came to his senses. He realized that he had crossed the line, but he could not control himself. He immediately ran to Mio and asked how she was. He immediately began to untie her and asked her to just hold on. Mio came to her senses. She felt a strange smell coming from Wang Bing's body. It was very pleasant to her. She wanted to be in his arms. Wang's body was pumped up and Mio definitely liked it. Immediately, another girl rushed at him with a knife, saying that she would not let him go. Jin also appeared, who asked her to move away, because he wanted to kill this guy himself. After all, Wang dared to resist him. He wanted the protagonist to know a great treasure for himself. Wang and the girl were shocked that Jin had a golden Gatling gun. Y also came to her senses and added that he would rather kill Wang. Jin opened fire right on everyone. Wang called him names while he was shooting, because he even killed his partners. Y and the other girl were immediately shot dead, to which Jin replied that they were not his partners, but only puppets, ordinary accessories. Against such small arms, the virus shield uses a lot more anger. Before that, the accumulated anger is rapidly falling. Anger was falling down very quickly. Wang understood that if this continued, he and Officer Myo would die here. He wanted to try it. He activated body strengthening and took 100 anger points. He also activated the quick feet skill and ran straight at Jin. The dwarf was shocked that he was able to break through. While he was shooting, he didn't know if Wang was even human. A moment later, Wang was already near Jin and hit the machine gun with all his might. Jin was screaming for someone to save him from the monster, while Wang was very angry. Wang grabbed him by the neck with words so that this fat pig wouldn't even think of running away. Wang's anger was 215 points. He picked him up naked and Jin started shouting at him to let him go, because he can give him anything he wants. Wang replied that he was not a holy man. It was not enough for him that he forced other people to work for him, so he also made them cannon fodder. Moreover, he drugged Officer Myo with this disgusting medicine, so he also wanted to do it with him. Wang's anger was already 380 points. Jin started crying. He said that he was wrong and asked him to spare him, because he would not dare to do something like that again. Wang thought that such a bloodthirsty fat pig was the worst thing in the world, but he assured him that he would not immediately kill him. He will give it to the people outside to be torn to pieces, those whom he has tormented for so long. He squeezed it tightly and Jin started foaming at the mouth. Wang added that without food and power, he is an ordinary despicable fat pig. He threw it on the floor and Jin fell. He ran up to Myo and cut the rope with a blow of his hand. She fell powerlessly to the floor. Van held her and hugged her, saying that it was because of him that she had been subjected to such torment. He wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. She was glad, because the man who holds her is him. Wang replied that there was no need to talk about anything right now. Now it's hard for him to control himself in this state. He wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. She put her hand on his cheek and confessed that her body was completely on fire. She couldn't stand it anymore. She wanted him to help her with her problem, because she couldn't stand it anymore. Myo was very excited. Her heart was beating wildly. She asked Wang to help her. If this continues, it's as if her whole body will explode. She begged Wang Bing to help her. Wang asked Officer Myo to be patient, because it's all because of the medicine. She should not do this, because it is also difficult for him to control himself. She kissed him and told him to just follow his desires. She admitted that in fact, in her heart she wants it. She just can't take it anymore. Wang's anger was rising greatly and he just couldn't control himself. He grabbed Myo and took off her clothes in one motion. Immediately they had a kiss. At that moment, Zhu was fighting with the guards. He was wounded and bleeding. It was terribly painful for him and the guards told him, mocking him, to give up because he was already surrounded. They know he has no bullets left. They were very angry because he had killed so many of their brothers. He ordered him to get out quickly and not to do anything stupid. The advisor shouted at them not to put on airs here, and wondered if they knew he didn't have bullets, so why didn't they approach him themselves? Because they had nothing to fear. Immediately, Zhu shot Advisor Zhang in the bun, from which he began to scream. Zhu asked who told him he didn't have bullets. He promised that the last bullet would be meant for him. The guys realized that he really had no bullets, so they wanted to advance. Zhu understood that this was his end. He fought to the very end and decided to leave everything to the others. His little sister is already in good hands, but he won't be able to take care of her anymore. He will not be able to fulfill the duties of a brother. Zhu began to cry, because finally to join his mother and father. The guards pointed their weapons at him and told him to surrender immediately, without resistance, because he was already a corpse and should come out soon. Immediately a familiar car appeared, where Nan was looking out, who wanted to deal with everyone. All the guards were surprised, and Nan added that his shooting skills he would destroy them. The girl holding Nana told him not to show off, because if he even gets out a little more, she won't be able to hold him. Zhu was glad, because he saw Wang Bing's comrades. The bandits immediately opened fire on the car and tried to aim at the tires. Li stepped on the gas and told them to hold on, and the car flew into the guards at full speed and they flew away. The advisor was shocked that Van had more comrades. He realized why the protagonist was so arrogant. Li jumped out of the car and asked Zhu why he was alone and where Wang Bing and the others were. Zhu replied that they were all in this building, and he stayed to protect here. Li was surprised that they came in so quickly. It seemed to him that he needed to penetrate deep into the enemy's camp to find gold. His sister also got out of the car and she ran to Zhu, and he was surprised that she also came here. His sister hugged him and told him not to leave her anymore. Zhu assured that he would always be by her side. He also asked why they came here. Li replied that half an hour ago they heard the sounds of an explosion from here. They were afraid that they were in danger, so they decided to come and help them. They are still comrades. They will advance and retreat together. Immediately, more guards appeared and continued shooting at the car. Nan was inside and didn't know if they would finish shooting or not. The girl climbed out of the window with a gun and also opened fire with the words that Nan was a coward and he had just said that he had excellent shooting skills. But Nan noticed that there were only 2 of them, and there were about 10 of them. Lai called Zhu with him to guard together to wait for everyone to return. Zhu noticed that he has no bullets. Li added that since Wang Bing appeared, they have never felt a shortage of bullets. The girl holding the machine gun said that playing with it is much more interesting than with a bear. Zhu laughed. He realized that teaming up with Wang Bing was his most correct decision in his entire life. At that moment, Xiao dealt with all the guards and continued to walk through the long corridor. It was already the last floor, but she could not find Wang Bing and Officer Mio. Immediately, she heard Officer Mio scream. Xiao immediately ran towards the voice and shouted that she would save her. She saw in front of her and realized that the voice was definitely coming from there. She opened the door and didn't understand what had happened here. She saw Y's body and realized that there had been a terrible shootout. Jin was lying on the floor then. He's not dead yet, he's just unconscious. She also noticed a toy and did not understand what kind of thing it was. Xiao picked it up and didn't understand why it was wet and what was being done to it. Immediately, Mio from guys, so that the videos come out more often, show your activity by subscribing to the channel and your royal like. Do it now. The more subscriptions, the more videos will be released and they will be much longer. Let's hit our first 10,000 subscribers. In the next room told Wang Bing that she was tired and that he needed to rest. Xiao realized when she entered the room that it was Mio, and she also mentioned Wang Bing, which means that he is also next to her. Opening the door, she was blinded by a strong light and she covered herself with her hand. The whole room was covered in gold, literally, the walls, the floor, and all the other items. Xiao was glad that she found this room, because Wang Bing would definitely need all this gold. Xiao was standing behind the curtain and Mio's voice was coming from there. She asked Wang to let her go, because she can't do it anymore. Immediately, Xiao opened it and saw Wang Bing's body. She asked what they were doing and saw such a picture. Immediately, she started crying, and Mio was still asking him to stop, because if this continues, he will break her. She asked him to get some rest. Immediately Mio noticed Xiao, who was shocked with what they were doing here. Mio tried to explain to her, because it's not what she thinks. She wanted to run away, because they are already in this position. What explanations can there already be? She saw everything she could. Immediately, Wang noticed her and immediately approached her. Wang grabbed her hand, and Xiao asked why he stopped her. After all, everything is already clear. Van was like a wild one. His hair was blowing in the wind like Hama Yujiro's, and he also grew claws. Xiao didn't understand why he cheated on her, because he had Xiao, so why should he have Mio? Wang looked at her menacingly and Xiao added that since he had already chosen Officer Mio, he could only support him, and she will leave them forever. Immediately, Van's passion awoke. He unbuttoned her clothes and bared her melons. He added that she would not be able to escape from him. Xiao was surprised and didn't know if it was the Wang Bing she knew. Mio asked Xiao to run away faster, because this Wang Bing is different. The protagonist took her hands and replied that no one would leave today until he was satisfied. The guards continued to shoot. One of them was killed, and the chief ordered them not to stop and continue shooting at the car. Lai understood that there were a lot of them and they were losing to them. Zhu noticed that their opponents were very fierce, and Wang Bing and the others had not yet descended. He believed that this did not bode well. The guy shot and told them to come out and kill them. Immediately one of them drew attention to the crowd behind. A security guard nearby asked him why he stopped and told him to continue shooting, but the guy asked them to look back. A crowd was walking heavily towards them. Anger was visible in their eyes. They also took weapons to somehow fight back. The guard asked if they were going to watch the game and asked them to get out of here. They pointed guns at them and added that they should leave as soon as possible, since they are killing rioters here. If they take another step, they will shoot. The man with the stick told them to shoot. He wanted to see if there were enough bullets for them all. The guards were shocked that they decided to disobey them and therefore were scared. The citizens replied that the time for distributing food had already passed, and they still had not given them food. They gave all the money to Jin, but they didn't get the food, so they were furious. The girl asked what they were arguing about. Li noticed that the argument was about food. The guards replied that they were putting things in order here. They asked to wait. After they rescued Jin, they would be able to distribute food to them. Then a bag of rice fell to the ground and a man with a stick asked what it was. The guards also turned around and were surprised. Nan appeared with a bag of rice, who said that these bandits had appropriated their food, and he added that they found out that they were illegally storing food, so they wanted to kill them. He threw more food, among which there was even dried meat. The guard was furious at his words, and the people were very angry at them. They asked them why they were giving them moldy soup when they were doing the hardest work. Nan replied that it was because they wouldn't be able to eat such delicious food as rice and jerky if they shared with them. Immediately they opened fire on him and Nan hid behind the car. The bald man wanted to kill him for his words, but another guard shouted that no one believed his words because they get the same as they do. But people didn't believe them. They wanted to eat something from this fresh rice now. They wanted to attack together and force them to spit out everything they had illegally stored and eaten. Nan was glad that he had forced the people to rally and fight. The boy told Lee that they really started fighting because of his words. Lee was pleased, because this is the first stage of the plan. Now they wanted to launch an official offensive. Zhu noticed for himself that they are quite smart. At that moment, Wang came to his senses. He realized that he had crossed the line, but he could not control himself. Xiao and Maio were lying together on the bed, and Wang Po was recovering a little. He understood that he already had Xiao, and he also did it with Officer Milo. Besides, it was Maio's first time, and he was so rude to her. He did not understand. The consequence of losing control is such a desire. He's just a real beast. He couldn't even imagine how he could explain everything when Maio wakes up. Immediately, the system informed him that he was not to blame for this. The virus in his body has awakened this passion in him. Besides, the increase in anger index made him so insane. She added that Wang should not suppress his desires. But he didn't understand why, because he couldn't do it all day. The system explained that with each increase in anger, he will become irritable and will be filled with destructive power. But, besides passion, he can also destroy something, eat something, take possession of something to reduce the side effect of the virus. If he restrains his desires, he will go mad very quickly, to the point that by controlling the virus, he can become the new king of zombies. Wang started to panic a lot and asked why she hadn't said this before. The system replied that he had not asked, but now he is in the arms of girls from both sides, which is very good. When returning to the real world, he should also find a new partner, or he will have to eat to the brim to reduce the bad consequences of increasing anger. Wang noticed that the system was getting worse and worse. He ordered her to quickly tell everything she was hiding from him. She replied that it wouldn't do, because he had to find out the rest of the information himself. Right now, the most important thing is the gold that is here. He asked the system to calculate how much gold there is. The system replied that there are 42 tons of gold here. Wang was surprised and realized how much this Jin loves gold. If you transfer all this gold to the real world, then its value will be more than 17 billion. This could cause major upheavals in the global market, not to mention whether the world market has seen such an amount of gold. He will only become the object of persecution if he makes them public. The system informed him that even now he could not raise the system level, but he would be able to play the lottery. There is so much gold here that he will be able to play many times. Wang told her to move this gold into the system space first. This time he got into the net of such a deceiver as the system and asked her not to even think about deceiving him again. The system asked if he didn't want to get stronger, and Wang ordered her to get out. Immediately Nan and Zhu were running through the building and Nan noticed them. Wang came out, carrying Xiao and Maio on his shoulders. He asked them why they had come in and if they had figured it out outside. Nan immediately noticed this and asked what was wrong with Xiao and Maio. Wang assured him that they were fine, they were just unconscious now. Zhu asked him if he had found the gold, and then remarked that it was better for them to leave this place now. He wanted to take advantage of the mess going on outside. Van agreed and decided to leave. A moment later, Van was already on the bus. Lee was glad to see him safe and sound, to which Wang replied that it was all thanks to his lighter, which helped him a lot. The girl noticed that they had a very stormy battle. Because Xiao and Maio were very exhausted, Wang was a little embarrassed and agreed. Yang immediately realized this, because Maio and Xiao could not sleep so soundly. Wang noted that the battle was really stormy and started laughing. He understood that it would be very awkward for him when they woke up. On the street, people were at war with each other. The girl could not even think that such chaos could break out because of a bear of rice and several bags of dried meat. Nan added that there was no point in helping them. They are ready to sacrifice their lives for food. Lee also added that he feels sorry for these tanks. None of them knows how to control them, otherwise they would have taken them too. Wang thought about moving the tank into the system space. Zhu told Mei to forgive her brother, because they are forced to wander again. To which she replied that it was okay, because they are the closest people to each other. Her home is where her brother is. Zhu asked her not to worry, because they had met Wang Bing, and now they no longer have to live without food, as it was before. But Wang Bing noticed that from now on he would be in constant danger, and wondered if he was afraid of this, to which Zhu replied that he would not be Zhu if he was afraid of this. Van was glad to answer him and added that now they are brothers in arms. Zhu was very happy and grabbed his hand, saying that he was grateful that Wang considered him a brother and that now his life was in Wang's hands. The protagonist noted that Zhu looks older than him, so he asked not to call him Brother Wang, because it confuses him a little, and Zhu admitted that he is 18 years old at all, to which Nan and the girl were shocked. After all, he looks like he's 38 years old. Wang was also surprised, because he said that he was able to join the Special Forces. Lee was also interested. Zhu admitted that in fact, he was drafted into the Special Forces, but before entering the service, this virus broke out, so, strictly speaking, he is not a Special Forces soldier. He just wanted to show off in front of them, so he said he was a Special Forces soldier. He apologized to everyone for deceiving them. They also added that to protect her, her brother speaks as if he has a lot of experience, which is why he does not have a girlfriend, but at heart he is very kind and talented. Zhu didn't understand why he would say that if everyone already knew it. At this moment, people wanted to find out from the advisor where this little man is now, and he only asked him not to beat him. The advisor suggested that he might be upstairs and suggest that they accompany them. At that moment, Jin began to come to his senses. He was slowly getting up, and his neck hurt terribly. He did not understand where his prisoners were and thought that they had run away too quickly. Immediately, he realized that his entire treasure had been stolen. He burst into the room, and she was already ordinary. Wang really stole all the gold. He was very worried about it and fell to the floor. After all, he had been collecting all this gold for so long, but now it's all useless. He began to scream and sob violently. Immediately people came to him. They realized that the advisor was right and Jin was in his room. They told him that the time for the food transfer had already passed. They asked if he wanted them all to starve to death. Previously, he provided them with food twice a day, but today he did not distribute it at all. Jin was very angry that they dared to come to him and ask about it. He asked them if they had forgotten who had given them shelter and food, and if they want to revolt against him, they will simply starve to death. He asked them what they would do, take his position? But everyone just kept silent and threw down their sticks and weapons. Jin thought they were just a bunch of dead dogs. He understood that it was necessary to teach them a lesson so that they could understand their mistake. From now on, the cost of each bowl of meat soup will be double. People were shocked by his words, because they understood that in this way they would only have enough for one meal and that now they would definitely starve to death. They all started asking him for forgiveness, and for him not to raise the price. Jin ordered them not to make noise and that they leave here, because he still needs to look for gold. A girl approached him from the side, who asked him to give her more, because her child is hungry. Jin noticed that someone was making noise under his ear. He turned around and asked why she turned into this. Jin was as surprised as possible, because he saw a zombie mother and her zombie child next to him. The baby began to growl, and instead of his eyes there were teeth. He immediately rushed at the bald man. All the people were in shock and didn't understand what was going on with Chen. Jin was calling for everyone to help, so that at least someone would get these creatures away from him. The advisor realized that it was definitely because of the meat soup. After all, zombie flesh was added to this soup. It was boiled and no one expected that it could infect. People started to get angry and asked to repeat it. They assumed that they had given them such food on purpose to get rid of them. The guy offered to go and find everyone involved in this case to kill, to which the advisor tried to justify himself, because he only obeyed Jin's orders. But they didn't understand what to do with the zombies, to which someone from the crowd suggested closing them here. Jin was abandoned by everyone and the door was slowly closing. He was bitten by a zombie. He asked not to leave because it was terribly painful for him. A week later, we see a military truck and a military vehicle being cut right on the road. There sits Xiao Shan, who is 30 years old, and her military rank is a company commander. Immediately, one of the soldiers noticed movement in the grass and reported it to the commander. Immediately, a crowd of zombies climbed out from behind the fence. The military jumped out of the car, and Shan gave the order for everyone to prepare for battle. Shan took out her signature pair of pistols and also prepared to shoot. There was already a zombie in front of her eyes. They opened fire on the zombies and their heads flew beautifully. The soldiers from the truck also started to get out. The man with the blindfold said that they were surrounded, so they were moving into a fighting position. Everyone understood that there were too many zombies, so one of the soldiers suggested that she take the guys and leave, and he would cover her. To which she replied that he was talking nonsense, because if you leave, then only together. Shan assumed that this was a false feeling. She noticed that all the zombies in this territory are unusually ferocious. Now their follies and movement speed are much greater than those of zombies near the gathering place. Immediately, a huge tree trunk was thrown at the soldiers. She was informed that things were bad, because the zombie king had appeared. He was smiling broadly and everyone had their weapons ready. The zombie king had a huge tumor on the back of his head. It was very large and gradually advancing. Immediately, everyone opened fire on him and the zombie king swung his tree. Shan understood that the zombie king's skin was very thick and that it would be difficult to destroy him from a long distance. So she took out the knives. She jumped up and threw her knife at him and hit him right in the eye, from which the zombie screamed ferociously. Shan also took out a grenade and pulled out the pin, ran straight at him and put it right in the zombie king's mouth. Then she pushed away from his chest to do a spectacular backflip. And during the jump, she pulled out a pistol and fired directly at the grenade. Immediately there was a strong explosion. Shan noticed that this is not the zombie king, because he is much weaker than him. Therefore, do not be afraid to step on this zombie. Everyone understood her order and a huge tumor flew out of the zombie's body. It was like some kind of cocoon from which a zombie toad got out. She tried to escape, but she was killed by Shan. She didn't understand what kind of ugly creature it was. Immediately, all the zombies seemed to calm down a little, and the soldiers were able to destroy them with ease. The guy with the blindfold didn't understand why they suddenly became very weak, because before they were so active and fierce, but now they have slowed down a lot. Shan assumed that they were acting in this way on the orders of this disgusting creature. She looked at her knife, which had the carcass of an unknown monster on it, and the soldiers continued their war with zombies. At this moment, an unknown huge creature similar to a toad was climbing an electric antenna. She had many more eggs on her back that she was ready to release. The unknown creature is already approaching. At that moment, Wang and his whole company stayed in a posh house. The children were swimming in the pool, and Wang and Yang were cooking something. Nan was very happy, because it had been a very long time since he had swum in such a pool. They shouted that Nan had splattered her. They were playing a game now, so he could join them. At that moment, Lai was training Zhu to shoot. He asked him to take good aim and not shake. Nan shouted to Wang that he had promised to teach him to swim, so he quickly called him to them. To which Wang replied that he would be coming soon. First he wants to help Yang fry the food, otherwise they will soon. Mischievous, howl that they are hungry. Immediately, he thought that since they had settled here, Zio and Officer Mayo had not left their rooms. He realized that he had done this to them and did not know how to look them in the eye now. At this moment, Zio was sitting alone on her bed. She recalled the events at Jin's house, where she was doing this with Wang and said that she was in pain, and Jin looked very angry. It seemed to her then that Wang Bing had lost his mind. She didn't know if he was the Wang Bing she liked, or is it his real appearance. Immediately there was a knock on the door and Zio thought it was Yang and therefore said she didn't want to eat. It was Officer Mayo. She was surprised that she came to her. Zio went to the door, opened it and asked what happened. Mayo awkwardly replied that she thought they should talk about what happened between her and Wang Bing. There were tears in Zio's eyes. She immediately hugged her and asked her not to say anything. Mayo immediately apologized to her and explained that she had no other choice then. Mayo is not one of those who fights off other people's guys. There was no way she would interfere with him with Wang Bing. Zio knows that it's not her fault, she's just afraid. Mayo wanted to have a good talk with her and for Zio to tell her everything that was bothering her. At that moment they set the table and there was a lot of fried meat. Everything smelled very tasty. Zhu was shocked when he saw a real fried steak. Van noticed fried cucumbers and fried ham sausage, because these are his favorite dishes. Yang asked what they were waiting for and that they should start eating sooner, or whether he would eat everything himself. Li was also glad, because there are also his most favorite fried chicken wings. Van drank a little beer. It was the very thing to cool off. Zhu was shocked and asked if it was beer in his hands. Wang also gave it to him, because he is also an adult. Zhu drank some beer. She refreshed him greatly and everything that held him back disappeared at that moment. Zhu began to cry with happiness. He thought that this was the feeling of entering adulthood. Van was surprised, because it's just one bottle of beer. The sister also noticed that he was exaggerating. The girl remembered how they first tasted the hogo made by Van. They also felt similar, but now they are already used to it. Zhu was surprised when he heard that Wang could do hogo and did not understand what kind of deity he was. Wang laughed and replied that if so, then they would have a hogo tonight in honor of celebrating their joining their ranks. Yang approached Li with a beer and offered it to him, but he didn't want it anymore. Li asked Wang Bing to wait. He asked him if he was leaving tonight, to which Wang agreed, because it was time for him to leave. Zhu didn't understand where Wang Bing was going, to which the protagonist replied that he had things to deal with. It will take about 7 days. He wanted to add details, but Zhu interrupted him with the words that he could not speak and that Wang could say when he wanted to. He promised that he would take care of everyone. Van was glad, because he can read the situation. He asked him to take care of everyone here. Zhu asked him not to worry, because he and Lai are here. Lai invited Wang Bing to go for a smoke, because he needed to talk to him alone. After they lit a cigarette, Wang started coughing. After all, he never smoked. He asked what Li wanted to talk about. Li replied that Wang was doing well, because lately he has been popular with women. Wang was shocked that he already knew about them. Lai agreed, because he is experienced. He asked Wang if he did it with Milo, and Wang agreed. He knew it was his fault. He did the same thing to her. He thought he was worse than an animal. Li replied that the young people love each other. There's nothing wrong with that. If he wants to blame someone for this, he has only his charm to blame. Li was also once young, and that's why he understands him. Van was surprised when it came to love. He almost told him everything. Wang realized that Lai did not know what he had done to Officer Milo. Lai said he was talking about him and Milo. Although he is only her mentor, but he perceives her as his own daughter. Although she looks cold and heartless, but at heart she is very sensitive and gentle. She also wants someone to take care of her. But because of her family and the fear that her loved ones may hurt her, she always puts on the mask of a cruel person. She had never fallen in love before. Wang was surprised, because Officer Mayo is so beautiful. He believed that she certainly had crowds of fans. He asked if she had reciprocated with any of them. Lee replied that maybe there are people who like her, but everyone is scared off by her icy image. And since they met him, he and Mayo began to communicate more and more. And then he understood Mayo's feelings. She definitely loves Van. Wang was surprised and asked if Mayo really liked him. Wang thought that Mayo was hiding it and was able to tell about her sincere feelings only when she was under the influence of that medicine. He remembered the moment where Mayo confessed that she wanted it herself and that Wang would not hold back. But Lai also noticed that everyone already knows that Wang and Zio are in a relationship, which is why he said that he enjoys great success with women. Van didn't care, he was just worried about them. That's why Lee called him here to talk about it. He knows that Wang has been very worried about them lately. He also told him that he really shouldn't worry about it. In any case, the old social foundations are already ineffective, and therefore Van can take them two at once. At first, Van thought about it, and then asked not to joke like that, because he doesn't want to behave like a bad person. Lai began to get angry, because according to him, Wang would be considered an asshole if he deceived his Mayo's feelings. The protagonist asked him to calm down, because he would not be able to equally share such love between everyone. Lee replied that if he still had the old way of thinking, then it was unnecessary. He has to get rid of them. In a post-apocalyptic world, every day is valuable. Everyone knows that tomorrow they may not live to see tomorrow, so everyone should seize the moment. Mayo has hardly met someone she likes, and therefore he wants to help her. And Van turned out to be the one she likes. He doesn't know how else to help him. That was all he wanted to tell him, and asked Wang to think about it. Lee asked Wang not to let him down and turned his back. Wang only clenched his fist. He understood that everyone would like to have such a harem, but he did not know if Zio and Officer Mayo would agree to it. At this moment, Zio and Mayo were chatting. Mayo couldn't blame Wang Bing, because Kizan had started using him. She also thinks that Wang was also drugged with the substance. That's why things got out of hand. Zio understood why Wang was a different person. He was also drugged with something like Mayo. That's why they did it. She asked not to blame Van, because it's not his fault. She asked me not to distract him anymore. Zio decided to find out if she liked Wang Bing too, to which she was very embarrassed and could not say anything. Zio added that Mayo did not misunderstand her. She didn't ask this because she was afraid that she would take Wang Bing away. She thinks she won't mind if she likes Wang Bing too. Mayo asked Zio not to think about it. After all, she has already said that she is not one of those women, so she cannot fall in love with Wang Bing. Zio tried to say something, but Mayo covered her mouth with her hand and asked her not to talk about it anymore. She never paid attention to feelings, and love is not in her first place, so she wanted to leave the past in the past. Zio of course agreed, but realized that Officer Mayo likes Wang. At that moment, Wang packed up and was already preparing to leave. He didn't have much time left, so he told everyone that he had to leave. He again asked Zhu to take care of everyone while he was not here. Zhu agreed and Nan added that they could take care of themselves, and the girl asked him to come back in time. To which Wang, leaving, said that he would return at the set time. He wanted them to just take care of themselves. Finally, he looked at the doors of Zio and Officer Mayo. Zhu walked into the room and Zhu asked that he just walked into the room and disappeared. Then how would he come back? To which Nan replied that he had left in this way before. And as for how he disappears, they do not know. In any case, after 7 days he will return to them again. The girl asked Zhu not to worry about it. Zhu realized that Wang was actually a wizard and only he realized his secret. Zhu assured him that he would keep it all a secret from everyone. At that moment, Wang was already in the real world, where construction was in full swing. Wang did not expect that the two of them would cope so quickly. They not only found the perfect place for a jewelry store, but also began repairs. Fei replied, which they started doing immediately after he told them. Xingping added that this is a very busy shopping area. There is a large sweat of people here. He paid a lot of money to get this store, and they do repairs in accordance with his requirements. The store is not as extravagant and luxurious, but simpler and in a classic style that gives customers a sense of reliability. It also took a lot of money. Wang said that past investments are a trivial matter. They only need to conduct business in good faith and get a good reputation, and then all their investments will return to them in threefold size. They can do whatever they see fit. And if they don't have enough money, they can turn to Van. Fei intervened and asked if he remembered Kang, with whom they had a race. He invites them to gather at Xingfeng's house. Wang remembered him, but didn't understand why they had invited them. Fei found out a little about them. It turns out that they are not ordinary majors at all. Take Kang, for example. He graduated from Harvard University with honors. After graduating from uni, he opened his own business in Silicon Valley. He researched and developed several programs, one of which was purchased for $30 million. Liu Xinghua is even more powerful. His family is one of the 3 influential families in their city. He is a male version of Mary Sue who is good at literature and martial arts. He is a gifted student who graduated from Tsinghua University. His business is also connected with precious stones. He has an army of mercenaries in Africa who have been personally trained by his family. They guard the deposits of precious stones. Yes, he just has the perfect scenario for life. Wang realized that since Liu King owns such resources, it would be a good idea to buy weapons and equipment from him. Wang initially also thought that they weren't just majors when they first met them. It turns out that this is indeed the case. He asked when Fei had managed to get so close to them. He replied that last time after dinner, Xingping found out that Kang was an expert in software development and shamelessly asked him to help develop a program for jewelry. That's how they got closer. Sin replied that the strong just met and united. Wang agreed to go, since they invited them themselves. They drove their beautiful cars, and after a while they were already at the estate. They were personally met by Liu Xing. He was glad that they finally came, because they were already waiting for them. Van got out of the car and greeted them. He realized that they were really not ordinary majors. This villa is very impressive, and the renovation is appreciated. They are not at all like other extravagant villas like those of other rich people. Van was already thinking of building one for himself. Wang greeted him and said that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Liu Xing asked him if it was his first time here and therefore wanted to arrange a tour. He called Monica, and Wang did not expect that such a person would not be arrogant. Liu Xing told her that his friends would stay here today. He asked her to prepare the rooms for them, as well as to prepare the evening banquet. She agreed and added that she would begin preparations immediately. Van drew attention to her melons and passion awoke in him. Veins ran down his face and he turned away. Liu Xing noticed this and asked what was wrong with him. Wang replied that he had a migraine due to overwork. Monica asked him if she should escort him to his room so that he could rest. They have a personal doctor and he can help him. Van didn't want to, because he just needs to drink hot water and wait a little and then everything will pass. He wanted Monica just not to look at him and, most importantly, not to approach. In that case, Liu Xing invited them to his house. He will also tell the doctor to give him a migraine pill. Xing did not believe Wang and assumed that it was all because Wang had not had a girlfriend for a long time, and Wang only laughed it off. Wang ordered the systems to exit quickly. She asked why he was so angry, because she was always with him. He asked why the side effect of the virus is so strong, because he saw only part of Monica's cutout and has already become so. The system told him that his desires would increase each time. If he is afraid that he will lose control of himself, then he needs to find a workaround to avoid this lust. He didn't know if there was any other way to control himself, because there are very beautiful servants everywhere. The system replied that he had no other choice but to satisfy his desires. All the girls introduced Liu Xing and his guests. They also added that if they have any requirements, they can contact them. Xing greeted everyone, but Wang was not happy. Because there are so many beautiful girls here, he wanted them not to look at him because he can't restrain himself. Liu Xing noticed this. Although Wang had seen many rich and noble families on TV, it was only when he saw Liu Xing's house that he realized what true aristocracy meant. All the money spent on the interior of the villa is enough to build a 5-star hotel. What can we say about a villa similar to a fortress? He also showed them trophies of which he is very proud, an exceptionally expensive vase, a famous sculpture. In addition, Liu Xing also has a large room where there are various old cars that he collects. So he also has various old cold guns, pistols, guns. Others can hardly get just one of them, but he has plenty of them. Fei and Xing are not interested in these things, so Kang invited them to look at the newly developed program, and Van watched carefully. Liu Xing asked how he did it, because this weapon has a 100-year history. It is well preserved. Wang was not a connoisseur of cultural treasures. He doesn't know anything about these things, so he couldn't appreciate it. He is more interested in modern small arms, but Wang didn't know if he had one. Liu Xing did not expect that he was also interested in them. He wanted to tell, and then asked if he would keep it a secret. After that, they sewed into a secret room, which can only be accessed by scanning Liu Xing's eye. The identification of the person was successful, and the door opened. Van was just in shock. After all, in front of his face was just a whole arsenal of different submachine guns and other weapons. There was also special armor and even a rocket launcher. Liu Xing admitted that this is his personal toy room. Wang was shocked and asked where he got it all from. He realized that he really wasn't that simple. Liu Xing gave him a sniper rifle to play with for a bit. Wang noticed that all these guns were in excellent condition, but he was sorry that they were here as decorations. Liu Xing replied that he would not let them go to waste. Although he can't take them out of here, but still here in the room you can use them, he invited Wang to shoot. They went to the shooting gallery room. Van could not even imagine that he had a special training ground here. Liu Xing replied that he had built it just for fun. Van realized that now it would be possible to have fun. He offered him a bet and Liu Xing agrees with him. If Van wins, he will give him his Ferrari. And if Liu Xing wins, then he has to help him with something. Wang understood that when a case arose, it was inconvenient for him to talk about it himself, so someone else had to do it. He was glad that he agreed. In that case, Van should never lose. He decided to warn that he does not accept violation of the rules. Liu Xing thought that he was saying this because he wasn't sure about his weapon. Liu Xing took the rifle and immediately fired it. He was almost in the top 10. Van understood that every bullet, at least, hits the 9. He realized that this Liu King was a master at shooting. He asked the system to open the store. He needs to buy 20 experience books and use them all to improve his shooting skill. She immediately did it and deducted 1,000 kilograms of gold. She also used 20 experience books on it to enhance the skill. He gained 20,000 experience points. The system congratulated him that he had upgraded his shooting skill to level 5. The hit rate increased by 200 points, the shooting speed by 300 meters. To move to the next level, he will need to kill 20,000 zombies. His current progress is 5789 killed zombies. Liu Xing finished shooting and Wang said he was not a bad shot. He also realized that this time he was a little lacking than the previous time. He hasn't been practicing much lately. Liu Xing noticed that Wang did not seem very impressed with his result, to which Wang replied that his abilities were a little straining, so he would have to be more serious. But in fact, although he is certainly cool, but he is still very far from Van, he was already looking forward to getting a Ferrari. He took the gun and felt a cool feeling. As soon as he raises the weapon, it feels like the body automatically adjusts to the optimal position for shooting. Also, the field of view was incredibly clear. It seems that the target is right under the muzzle of the rifle. He can hit the target quite easily. He was happy because it's a really great feeling for him, but he already wanted to start. Wang was full of confidence. Liu Xing noticed that his posture was very neat and did not know what kind of technique he was using. Immediately, Wang started shooting and Liu Xing realized that it wasn't so bad. Wang shot everything and Liu Xing was shocked. He asked how he was, and whether he had surpassed him. He was just in shock and didn't understand how he could do that. He hit everything at 10 and it was unrealistically even. Liu Xing even thought it was some kind of magic. He noticed that he was definitely a master in this business. Just now, he was so modest that Liu managed to get over it. Wang tried to respond by saying that he was in a good mood today. That's why he tried so hard. Wang realized that he had overdone it a little. If this happens again, he will definitely suspect him. Liu Xing knew that there was always a cooler one for the tough one. He is inferior to him in skill, so he will have to pay. He threw him the car keys and told him that she was his now. Liu Xing realized that he was very interesting. He thought he was lucky to have made friends with him. Wang told him that since they were friends and he had received a gift from him, then he would help him. Liu Xing replied that it was a bit of a sensitive matter and asked if he really wanted to help. Van asked me to tell him what the case was. Maybe he can help him with something. Liu Xing decided to tell him directly. He wanted to use it to destroy the Li family. Wang was shocked by his words. At that moment, friends were discussing the Cayenne application developed. Sin replied that it was excellent. He thought that if he sold it, he would earn tens of millions from it. And Fei agreed. He thought Cayenne was really cool. Liu Xing and Wang were sitting at the top and talking. Wang didn't expect that the Lai family and his enemies would, too. He decided to clarify if he was referring to that young Mr. Lai. Liu Xing replied that he was feuding with Mr. Lai's youngest son. He is only the son of Mr. Lai's mistress. He has no real power. He only uses the name and money of the Jinbai group to pick up some girls. He has no right to be at enmity with him. Liu Xing's enemy is his brother. His brother is Lai Yao, and his father is Lai Deng. They are the real leaders of the Jinbai group, which includes not only real estate and logistics, but also illegal business in their city. And although Liu Xing has the strength to resist them, but he will have to pay a big price for it. If he does everything badly, then both sides will be the losers, because other clans will take advantage of their weakness and want to defeat them. Wang was surprised that he wanted to attack first. He didn't know what the age-old enmity between them was. He assumed that he must have already found out everything about him from the very beginning and realized who Wang was. And that was the only reason he asked him to help. He explained that this is not an age-old feud. All this happened because of one girl, Sun, and she was the person he loved very much. She was also the only daughter of the family. They once loved each other and decided that they would spend the rest of their lives together. At this time, the Jinbai group began to gain momentum. And at one party they met Lai Yao. Then they didn't have the power they have now. They had no idea that he had planned something bad from the very beginning. His original target was the Xungying Zhao family. After that, they crossed paths a lot and eventually became friends. One day, they quarreled with Xungan over someone trivial. Then he lured him into a trap under the pretext of relaxing. He mixed something up with him and made sure that Xiying saw him with her own eyes in bed with another girl. The girl told Liu Xing that his girlfriend had come, so he had to get up. Xiying saw it all with her own eyes, and he couldn't prove his case to her. No matter how he explained himself, Xiying still didn't forgive him. and then Liu Xing took advantage of it. He used a lot of dishonest techniques. At first, he fawned over the Zhao family, helped him get a lot of money, and fell in love with them. Then, despite Liu Xing's intervention, he began actively courting Xiying. He never expected that Xiying would start dating him to spite him. As a result, they got married. Then anger turned his head and he made a scandal at the place of the wedding ceremony. It is quite obvious that because of this, he has become a laughingstock in high society. After that, he calmed down and decided to put his grievances in the past. So he went to Africa to do business. Wang decided to ask what had happened to Xiying, whether she had become happily married to such a man. If he had been sincere towards Xiying, then Liu Xing would have been a little calm, but both father and son wanted to devour the Zhao family from the very beginning. Members of the Zhao family began to die one by one as a result of random accidents, the last Xiying too. Then he wanted to immediately take revenge on them for Xiying, even if he had to sacrifice his life, but his family forbade him to do so. Family members constantly put pressure on him, saying that if he wants to start a war with the Lai families just for the sake of some girl, then they will not help him. In addition, they will immediately send him out of the country. Therefore, he can only take revenge on the Li family with the help of other people. Liu Xing stood up and added that he knows that Wang Bing is very talented, so he asked him to help him. Immediately, these three heard a loud noise and Sin assumed that they were arguing about something there, but Fei understood that they had nothing to argue about. Wang told him that it wasn't that he didn't want to help, he just said that if he started a war with them, both sides would suffer. In that case, how can Wang, an ordinary person, stand up to them? Liu Xing admitted that as soon as they met them, he made inquiries about them. Wang single-handedly dealt with 2 leaders of the Black Tiger gang. Besides, he suddenly became rich. There is no other young man like him in this city. He added that if he agrees to help him, he will provide him with finances and working hands, and promised that he would definitely reward him well. Wang understood that if it was the past him, he would immediately refuse to interfere in the dispute between these families. But now some voice inside him is constantly giving him hints. He tells him about the different benefits and that the greater the risk, the more he gets. Wang said he would help. But before he could speak, Liu Xing interrupted him. He wanted to know what he wanted, because he would do everything so that he would only agree. He also wants to taste what it's like to be at the head of a group. Otherwise, there will be only one influential person in this city, and that's him. Liu Xing assumed that he meant for him to help him absorb the Jingbai group. Wang explained that one way or another, he is still under the Li family's gun. He'd rather take the initiative than wait for them to do something. Wang wanted to completely destroy the Lai family. Liu Xing felt that the aura around him had suddenly become powerful. Just now he was harmless, but now he shivers at the sight of him. This Wang Bing is really not an ordinary person. He agreed Wang needed to destroy the Li family, and then he would help him in every possible way. To begin with, he just wanted to agree to his terms and then deal with the rest. Vag was glad that they were able to come to an agreement and therefore asked him to take care of him. They shook hands and said with one voice that their cooperation would be fruitful. After that I was in the evening and all my friends were steaming in the sauna. Wang Bing thought it was cool to be rich, because there was even a hot spring here. Resting in a hot spring helps him relax and get rid of anger. He was already thinking about making a separate one for himself. Liu Xing said that he had already swum and offered Wang Bing to go and get something to drink. But Wang wanted to sit for a while longer. Xing said that he would go for a massage and Fei was surprised that there was such a thing and therefore wanted to go with him. Kang snuggled up to Liu Xing and said that he didn't think he had organized all these wellness treatments, but he replied that it was just a regular massage. Xing asked him if Wang really didn't want to go with them, but the protagonist decided to soak in the water a little more. After all, the hot spring gave them a lot of pleasure. Immediately, he heard the sound of someone entering the water. He asked that they wanted to go for a massage, but immediately came back again. It was Monica. Liu Xing was afraid that Wang would be lonely and asked her to keep him company. Immediately, Van took off the bandage and was as surprised as possible. He immediately turned away and said that she was mistaken, because this is a men's bathhouse. He wanted her to leave as soon as possible, otherwise he would not vouch for himself. To which Monica replied that it is not divided into a men's and a women's bathhouse. These are common hot springs. Liu Xing told her that Wang had been looking at her lasciviously from the very beginning. But now for some reason he was shy. But Wang denied everything. Liu Xing told her to take care of him. She assured him that he could wish with her whatever he wanted. Van turned away so as not to look at her and asked in what century she lives, because servants should not do this. To which the beautiful blonde replied that all the servants in this house receive a very high salary, so they must blindly obey the master. And of course, their competence includes proper care for the friend of the gentleman. She put her foot on her back and slid up and down. Van felt it and he was very pleased. Monica realized that he couldn't take it anymore. Wang apologized to her and said that he did not need such care, because how would he then look into the eyes of Xiao and Officer Mai? He wanted to get up with the words that he would go, and she could do what she wanted. She grabbed his hand and asked him not to leave. She completely grabbed him and said that if he left now, the gentleman would definitely think that he hadn't taken care of him properly. She pressed her melons tightly against him and added that perhaps then Liu Xing would fire her. She asked Wang to help her. Monica asked him to stay here with her for a while, and then she would report everything to the master. Wang felt that he could no longer control himself, and veins began to run down his face. Lust awoke in him and he immediately became wild, saying that she forced him. Monica was a little scared and asked him to wait. She didn't want to do it, to which Wang replied that she forced him, so she shouldn't even think to run away. After that, the sun was shining strongly in the morning and Monica was sleeping in bed. Liu Xing came into her room and she immediately woke up. She apologized to him and explained that she had a sleepless night last night, so she woke up late. But he didn't care, but where his esteemed guest was and why he wasn't together. She didn't know where he was and was surprised that he left so early, because he had been doing it all night. Liu Xing looked out the window and saw that the donated Ferrari was standing in the yard. He realized that he had left early and assumed that he had changed his mind. But then the car started up and quickly drove along the road. He immediately received a message from Wang Bing on his phone. Van said that he had things to do for these 2 days. He will send him a list of things. He asked him to prepare these things and send them to his home. He will tell Fei and Xin to prepare the rest. He will be back in 2 days and then they will deal with the Li family. Liu Xing was glad that he could finally take revenge and destroy the Li family. At that moment, Van had already arrived and left his car in the parking lot, so all the people started taking pictures next to this car. Wang's teacher was drinking tea alone and waiting for his student. Immediately, Wang appeared, who said that he was late. The teacher was glad that he finally came. The teacher said that young people are not so punctual, so he was fined and he threw a mug of tea at him. Seeing this, Wang thought about the teacher underestimating him. He practically grabbed her and thanked the teacher for the tea. But the cup immediately changed direction and hit him in the forehead and the tea spilled. He was very hot and the teacher wanted to see how far he had come in these 2 days. He wanted to hit him with the words that he was not falling for his trick again. The teacher spread his arms to the side and Wang's fist almost reached the teacher, but he grabbed his arm. Wang was shocked that the teacher caught his fist so easily. Immediately, the teacher started twirling it and Wang shouted for the teacher to spare him. Immediately he threw it up and Van, continuing to spin, fell to the ground. The teacher realized that things were bad, because of the teacher's indiscretion, the student had a little hard time. Wang asked him not to talk to him yet, because he first needs to renew. The teacher told Wang that his brute strength has turned into something they can't handle, which is why it's so hard for him, but in a short time his strength has improved significantly. He decided to give him hot tea to drink, and then they would talk about him. Van could only thank him. The teacher put his hand on Wang's shoulder and felt something. He picked up Wang and asked what kind of extraordinary person he had encountered in these 2 days. Wang was surprised and replied that he had not met anyone. The teacher added that he feels an extremely negative and cold evil energy inside him, completely different from the pure male energy that he radiated 2 days ago. Van replied that he probably just got sick and assured that it was nothing serious. Wang assumed that the teacher realized that he was now half human and half zombie. The teacher understood that this negative energy is not at all like a common cold. He grabbed it and added that this energy is similar to the energy of a corpse. He asked him to tell him honestly. The teacher thought that he had learned some kind of devilish technique in some place, to which Wang replied that he wouldn't dare, because he took him as an apprentice, which he is very happy about. Why would he not listen to him and learn completely different techniques? The teacher replied that he did not mind his student teaching other techniques, but he should remember that in no case should he use devilish techniques, because they would ruin him. He ordered him to quickly take off his clothes so that he would rid him of this corpse energy. Wang was surprised, because he was in the middle of the city, but the teacher insisted on his own. Wang and the teacher took off their t-shirts and sat down next to each other. Wang took a deep breath. Wang understood that they say that Washu is so deep that you can't see the bottom, but he didn't know if there was a way to get rid of the virus inside his body. The teacher said that during the process you should not get carried away with fruitless ideas. You need to be calm, otherwise you will lose touch with reality. He put his hands on Van's back and it began to glow. Immediately he did something and opened his eyes. Van went from a normal state to rage mode and immediately transformed into a monster. The teacher said that he used True Kai to expel bad energy. These two energies begin to interact, which is why it is so hard for him. He didn't understand what was going on. This negative energy does not come out in any way. It seemed to him as if this energy had been inside Wang Bing from the very beginning and had been in him for so long. He understood that if he banished her completely, he would harm Wang Bing. He can only use this. He did something and Van started yelling even more, but he didn't look so much like a monster anymore. He asked him to hold on, because he would give him some more True Kai. His back continued to glow. Immediately, Wang felt that he felt so comfortable. It feels like the whole body has started to breathe freely. He was very pleased. He believed that the effect of the transmission of true Kai had manifested itself so quickly. It was so amazing. Wang felt a soft and powerful energy entering his body, but it did not expel the original energy inside him, but rather merged with it. Van feels like his energy has become more. The system congratulated him on getting a brand new skill. True Kai Teiji. True Kai Teiji increases dexterity by 3 points, physical strength by 10 points, and intellectual strength by 10 points. This technique is basic for all Tai Chi skills. It also improves the physique of the practitioner. The current level is 1. To go to the next level, you need to use the Tai Chi skill 100 times. Wang was glad that he didn't do anything, but still got a brand new skill. The teacher was tired, and Wang asked him if the fact that he had transferred his true Kai to him would not harm him. The teacher replied that it was nothing, because he had given him only a small fraction of true Kai. He was just a little tired. The negative energy inside him was in a chaotic state and could harm him at any moment, but now it is closed by true Kai. Wang was shocked by his words. The teacher added that this negative energy would not be able to completely invade his body. Besides, he helped open access to 2 meridians. Now he has a share of the inner strength of the teacher. Wang couldn't afford to take some of the teacher's power and therefore wanted to give it back. He understood that this virus was only harming his life. Because of him, the teacher gave him his inner strength. He was very ashamed. But the teacher put his hand on his shoulder and called him a fool.